Welcome to She Wears the Pants, the podcast where women build companies that can hold their calling. I'm your host, Ashley Deland, business advisor, multi-business founder, and startup investor, guiding women to scale with structure, strategy, and self-mastery. Every week, we go behind the scenes of high-growth, women-led brands to talk about the real work, the identity evolution, the leadership required, and the strategy that actually sustains success. If you're ready to build a business and life you love, you're in the right room. Welcome to She Wears the Pants. I'm your host, Ashley Deland. And today's guest is one of the most in-demand neuromarketing and high-ticket positioning strategists in the world. Elena Dukas has brought and sold over 50 companies worth more than $10 billion in the high-stakes world of mergers and acquisitions. And now she is bringing that same high-level insight to female founders ready to scale with precision. Elena is the quiet force behind hundreds of multi-6 and 7-figure brands, helping expert entrepreneurs simplify their business, sharpen their message, and scale their impact without burning out. Her proprietary framework blends neuroscience, business infrastructure, and high-converting messaging to create consistent, reliable sales systems, what she calls the bread factory of client acquisition. She's not here for fluff or overhyped funnels. Elena teaches women how to step into their true CEO power, build scalable models that run without them, and create a business that fuels both impact and income. So welcome to the show, the woman who's flipping the script on what it really means to scale smart, sell with integrity, and lead like a woman. Elena, welcome to She Wears the Pants.
Oh, amazing. It's a pleasure to be here. What an introduction, Ashley. I'm so excited to speak to you today.
Me too. You are somebody that is the real deal. You are actively out there changing the world. And to start, can you tell us a little bit about your background and how you landed into the world of entrepreneurship?
Yeah, it's such a great question. It's interesting. Business has always been in my blood, in my DNA. My father is an entrepreneur. So it's one of those things when kids were, or even when I was young in my 20s, what books I was reading, it was always about business. I have always been business obsessed. And as you said, I have a background in mergers and acquisitions. For many years, I have been buying and selling companies. And it's been an amazing experience to really open the leads to so many businesses and kind of like to see under the hood what's really going on. How are they making money? Is it working? What is not working? What is just the hype and kind of for the show and just for Instagram stories? But what is really creating the results, the powerful results, the quiet results behind the scenes? And that's what I've been really in the trenches with businesses for so many years. And then the transition was very natural. Founders have started asking me questions. Elena, how do I make my company more valuable? I'm thinking about, changing, creating more sales, more consistent sales. And this is really where it led me to the place where I'm now, where I work with CEOs, founders, experts, consultants, coaches to really help them scale their business through neuromarketing in a very powerful, very smart way that doesn't only rely on social media, but it really is building this quiet, super powerful, invisible systems in their business that gives them consistent cash flow.
That's phenomenal. I love that you tapped into almost like the performance metrics of businesses because there is a lot of vanity out there when it comes to entrepreneurship and thinking that, the numbers from followers to the net profit is what matters, but it's actually the presence and the woman's and the men behind the brand. Tell me a little bit about your humble beginnings. And so you were obsessed with business growing up. You came from an entrepreneurial family. I want to talk about how the journey goes and how it's not always simple or beautiful. Tell me a little bit about younger Elena.
Oh yeah, my story is quite different. In fact, I grew up in Siberia in a Soviet Union at the time, so that's where I was born. So to say I didn't come from money, I didn't have the opportunities that is available to so many people. I certainly didn't have that. So yes, my dad was entrepreneur, but also was very volatile environment, very volatile economic environment. And really, my story is a bit different. So I grew up in Siberia. At the age of 16, I left what was Soviet Union at the time, and I went into and studied in the US. So I was one of those kind of a strange kids. I won a scholarship with the US government, and they've sponsored me to come and live with a beautiful American family who I still till this day call mom and dad. And this is where really my journey started. And my life is the way it is really from that experience. I went to American school. I was really kind of brought up with the values of democracy, and it was really a transformational experience.
What were some of the hardships that you experienced in those first few years of entrepreneurship? And if you could go back and tell yourself something, what would it be?
Yeah, I think it's a great question, and so many entrepreneurs ask me that. I think entrepreneurship is not for everyone. So if you're listening to this podcast and you're in this game and you find it very hard at times, that is so typical and so normal, and was certainly my journey. It's still so a journey of so many of my clients. It's very normal. There is an element of uncertainty that's involved being a business owners. There's a lot on your shoulders, and I think one of the big hardships is you have to keep going. You have to always striving, always like hold this bigger vision for you and your business, even when other people don't support it. Even if your closest family, friends, husbands, wives don't see the vision that you hold, and you have to keep going in a very relentless way when no one sees your vision, even doesn't understand what you do. In fact, actively trying to stop you. And I think that is one of the hardest things. It was certainly very hard for me, but I think this is what so many people face, is that you have to do this by yourself. You have to be driven by yourself and really pulled forward by the vision of what's possible.
Absolutely. For me, I was very surprised at, so I have a very relentless determination. I move forward whether people like it or not. It's always been part of my personality. I was surprised at how lonely the journey became and how when you elevate into different levels of, we'll just call it income or success, the top gets lonelier and lonelier, which was shocking for me, which is why I'm sure we're all an advocate for building community and sisterhood and coming onto podcasts and platforms like this to share our experience. We'll fast forward it into the mergers and acquisitions and tell me a little bit about how your experience with them has shaped the way that you mentor women-led businesses today.
Yeah, I mean, it has shaped quite drastically. I think having experience that I've had for so many years, I've been in business for now over 20 years, it really allows you to have a sense of perspective. So when the companies or the clients come to me, I know exact stages they're going to go through on their journey. For them, it's brand new, but the beautiful thing that I can help them navigate is to know that's normal. What you experience is normal. The challenges you have is normal. Here's the gap. Here's the block that you need to solve. Don't ignore everything else. Everything else doesn't matter. There's just one thing we need to unlock. And on every stage of the entrepreneurial journey, whether it's income or level of clients, there's always one or two, three blocks that have to be unlocked. Everything else is kind of nice, but actually irrelevant. So I think that's really key, but also just having the breadth of experience. I've seen so many businesses fail, collapse, been so unsuccessful, tried to exit, couldn't, but I also have seen a lot of success stories and been certainly part of that with them in the trenches. So I think there's just the sheer breadth of experience. There's never been a business who will come to me who is like, oh, I've never seen this problem before. And I think that just comes with experience, with age, with just having, overcome a lot of challenges. Yeah.
Can you tap in on a surface level to the people listening what those main 2 to 3 blocks are that you consistently see?
Yeah, I think especially if you're maybe, depending on where you are at the stage, if you're kind of working towards six figures, maybe you're already at six figures, looking at seven figures, at this stage of the business, the only thing that truly matters is consistent, predictable cash flow. Ultimately, if no matter where you are, if we can unlock a consistent, predictable cash flow, and what I mean by that, we can really anticipate and predict how many leads you need to have in order to amount of sales you need to have, how, and it's all kind of really predictable metrics. And if we can just zero in on those two key things, everything else is irrelevant. In a way, you don't even have to have social media, you don't have to have website. If you know exactly what to do, what steps to take in order to create the sales you need in a very predictable manner, everything else can be kind of ignored. Yeah, it's nice to have a website, but not necessarily required. So I think we get to stages. This is what I guess the key thing is my message today for entrepreneurs listening is like, what are the key things that is like needle moving that I must have that you have to implement? And actually, what are the things that you, as a nice to have, if you have more time and energy? And I know, so especially if you women or men listening, I'm sure people have families, other commitments, so many things they're juggling. So just getting super clear on the needle moving activities. And really, for up to six figures, it's all about predictable cash flow, predictable sales, and how can we just create a system that is going to be executable no matter what. Whether you're on holiday or not, doesn't matter. The business always generates cash flow. That is key thing. As you move further into seven figures, we really start looking about dialing down and extracting the CEO out of the business. And there becomes more of a time constraint where we need to start looking at the type of offers you have, of the team structure that you have, because the way you got to six figures and even multiple six figures is not the same way as you get to seven figures and beyond. Because you, as a founder, and you as a multiple you, everyone's listening, become a bottleneck of your business. So we have to release that bottleneck. And of course, if you go beyond seven figures and into eight, it's all about the team. And it's never any longer about you. It's all about hiring, creating great structures, and creating a really powerful brand and a culture of the organization. So there's different challenges, and they're the most important things
They
to
are
focus on.
absolutely. Yes. So I mean, you really have, you're again speaking from, 20 plus years of experience now and buying and selling over 50 companies. Do you find like those are the key metrics in the 6, 7, and 8 that you can spot instantly that tells you whether a business is going to be scalable or it'll stay stuck?
Yeah, I think that's key. That is very much key. Exactly. At six figures, it's all about predictable cash flow. At six figures, people are very good with trading their energy for money. They kind of can hustle the way through. I mean, this is a phenomenal entrepreneurs that have great passion, great kind of this work ethic mentality, which is just incredible. And I always love my clients at that stage. It really is phenomenal. But what happens is they're so relentless and they can do everything. They truly can create, they can send an invoice, they can create social media posts, they can answer client query, they can fix the system if something's not working. They're truly someone who can do it all. And that's why they got to where they got to, is that sheer relentless trade of energy. And this is where at some point, some people can sustain that for a very long time. Some people, especially as they've been in business 5, 6, 7 years, they become really tired. It's very typical. It's very normal. There's a sense of, to some extent, burnout, but just really tired. You're like, oh, I'm still doing it. It just feels heavy. And this is where a really support of a mentor or a coach is really important to just help you navigate this moment in time. For someone to say, actually, no, you don't need to quit on your business. You just can't do it the same way you've always done it. You have to just be a little bit smarter. We need to use a little bit more systems. In fact, a lot more systems, a lot more things that doesn't just rely on your energy. So if you have kids parties or you go on holiday, business doesn't stop. So that's a key intervention we have to do at that stage. And it really progresses in that way even further. But also for some of you people listeners, you might be just have a business idea. You might be just in the very early stages of your business. And that's a beautiful place to be, because also if you invest in yourself, I mean, sure, join one of your certification programs, Ashley, or be supported by mentors and coaches. What you're able to do is really fast track a lot of years of trial and error. Because
Yes.
what happens with a lot of businesses, right? They start, they're like, well, how difficult can it be? I can figure it out. You're smart, you probably had a very successful corporate career, you've managed really complex things, and you're like, well, how hard can this business be? And what I see a lot is then what happens is the entrepreneurs start, they do it themselves, they put a lot of work ethic, and also the family doesn't quite understand what they're doing. That's what's typical. So they're facing a lot of resistance at home. So it is challenging. And then they try and error. Some things are working, some things are not. And then year down the line, and yes, they've made progress, but they could have been so much further along if only they took a playbook from someone else and just also be supported by someone else. And I think it is about allowing yourself to be supported. And
Yes.
I think it's very interesting. I had this recently conversation on my podcast, and we talked exactly about this, is this idea that for many businesses, investing in their business is very natural. For many entrepreneurs, very natural. If you have a restaurant business, you can't start it unless you've hired a chef, unless you've rented a property, if you invested into beautiful tablecloths and stuff, without even making a single dollar.
Correct.
It's very normal. And but sometimes, especially in the consultancy or maybe business coaching environment, people don't have the same mentality. They think they can avoid that investment in their business and be successful.
Mhm.
And that's a really big mistake. And this is where I see a lot of hardship and a lot of struggle unnecessarily, is because you have to treat it like a company that will be scaled, that's valuable from day one.
Yes, you are taking the words right out of my mouth. I always say, ask and take the advice from somebody whom you wanted to be yesterday. And if you want to go down the path, ask the people that are coming back because there's so much unnecessary hardship that you can overcome and get to success faster if you just ask for the support. It's so important. And for women, sometimes that's such a difficult task.
Very.
Seeing as you've worked with so many different women in different industries, what do you find to be a consecutive thread through the most high performing, successful women? Do they have certain traits or skills or talents that you see within all of them?
I think it's not necessarily, I think that they certainly very relentlessly invest in themselves. And I think what it comes from with most successful entrepreneurs, men and women, is they have this deep trust in themselves. Like they know, they just trust themselves. They know, like, if they invest, they do things, they're going to deliver, they're going to see the results because they're in control of those results. They're going to do whatever it takes to achieve their goals. So I think, if anything, it's that level of trust in themselves because they also have track record. Hey, you've done hard things in your life. Maybe it was different industry, maybe it was different niche. Well, if you gave birth to kids, that's hard. And if you're raising children, it's the hardest task of all. There's a level of trusting yourself that comes with it, but everything else can be gained as long as you're driven, motivated, and you're relentless and you just don't give up and keep going. You will be successful.
And if you have the right mentorship to guide you there, absolutely. You are really known for dramatically helping women simplify their businesses while, getting the cash flow, the sales, and the system. What's the first 90% most of them should stop doing right now?
Great question. Yeah, it really is. It really comes back to this: how are you getting sales? And what's the way to get sales in your business in a way that doesn't depend on you showing up all the time? Because things happen, you can get sick, you might need taking time off if the kids need you. How can we make sure that your business gets predictable sales in your business? What is your system? And I'm looking for a system and a process, not just you knocking doors, not just you making phone calls, not just you pulling on the connections, not just you going networking events, not just you showing up on social media. We need that. And the way to make it brutally honest and very clear, unless you have that system in your business, nothing else matters. It is that important. Social media is fantastic. Social media and all of that is phenomenal to bring more spotlight into your business to advertise it. But unless there is that system that people, after discovering you online, for example, or seeing you at the event, or seeing you, someone mentioned your name and referred you, unless they have a very quick way to buy from you and be nurtured by you in a very simple steps, you almost like you are missing a cash register in your business.
Yep.
It's that important. Think of it as, unless you own a store and you only sell on a shop front on a high street, but most of businesses right now will have some sort of an online presence. We need to make sure that a customer can buy from you in 24 hours in a very reliable way.
Absolutely. Tell me a little bit about neuromarketing, because that might be a new word, a new thought process for some people listening. So, what is neuromarketing and what does it look like in practice? Like, how can it be used within their businesses?
Absolutely. The way to think about this is it's really a beautiful combination of neuroscience, behavioral psychology, and marketing. And it's really blending all three. And it's really focused on one thing and one thing only. How can we move someone who's a stranger, who's never discovered your product or your brand before, to a place where they want to buy from you? They want to desperately buy from you. They know this product and your service and your brand is right for them. And they have this internal desire to want to buy from you. That's what neuromarketing really allows you to do. And it's all before you start like heavily selling the product. If kind of the way to be thinking about, if you like sell it in the market, here's my banana, come and buy it. It's much better to have a customer who comes to your store, finds you online, and they're like, no, I want to buy from you. And I already made that internal decision. And it's just a conversation afterwards, more logistical. What are your offers? What are your prices? But they're ready and primed. That's what neuromarketing allows you to achieve. And the way we do that, if traditional marketing really focused on pain points and kind of this very traditional messaging, neuroscience is all about, well, we know how humans make decisions. Everything that we do, we make thousands of decisions every single day, but we don't even think about it. It's completely subconscious. It's automatic. Why are you attracted to this person? You just walk, so she walks into the room and you just instantly feel the pull. You just know their authority. Why are you looking at this ad online and you're like, oh, this is amazing? You dive deep into the masterclass and making a purchasing decision within 24 hours. Even though there might have been some people online that you have been following for years. You know the name of their children, you know what workout clothes they wear, what protein smoothie they have after their morning workout. You know everything about them on social media, but you have never bought from them. And not only you have never bought from them, you have zero desire to buy from them. And then you just see an ad, you're like, wow, this is hyper relevant for me. Oh my God, that's exactly what I need. Oh my God, this is for me. And then you dive deep into their funnel, you're watching their masterclass, and you're like, oh my, this is just blowing my mind. Then you call your husband or your wife, you're like, oh my God, darling, check this out. That's exactly what we were talking about last night. And this man or woman's got exact solution we need. And you deep into that process, and by the end of it you make a buying decision and you buy something high ticket and have the most transformational experience of your life.
My favorite. Love this.
Right? This is what happens all the time. So the question is, how come there's this one person who spent years creating content, pulling you into their life, like warming you up, building that trust and authority, and did all those things. You know everything about them, but they never created that desire to buy, and someone just did that in hours. That's the power of neuromarketing system. That's the power of neuromarketing system. And the reason why we do that is because it's super hyper relevant for this particular person. And we know exactly in neuroscience, there's 11 steps someone has to go through before they buy. So this, through powerful persuasion messaging, we can influence and build custom messaging for your business that creates that automatic pull, that creates that hyper relevance in that desire that people like, well, I just knew, people come to my clients and they say all the time, I just know how to work with you. I've watched your, messaging, your masterclass, listened to you on your, I just know how to work with you. That's the difference.
Yes.
And that's the power. And the neuromarketing is a really powerful way to do that.
So I'd like to offer some space right now for a plug-in for people that are saying, okay, Elena, I need to know more. I need to work with you. How can they take that next step forward?
Of course. Probably the fastest way, let's leave some links in the comments, in the show notes. Watch my masterclass. That's going to be the best place. So you get to kind of experience what it's like and what it's all about. We'll share links. So you get to watch it, and then there will be application to speak to me directly, not to a member of my team, but to me. And if I feel like I can really help you, and this is great, certainly I will get on the call with you and we'll chat through about how this could look like in your business. Also, if after listening this, come and follow me online on Bossy Heels Club. Send me a DM, tell me what's happening in your business, and I'll be very happy to advise. But I take a few clients. I mainly work one-to-one. We do have different programs and courses that people can purchase, of course, but I do work one-to-one also with clients where we really design custom messaging for you and your business. And it is a beautiful experience because not only do you get to learn neuromarketing, you get to implement it in your business, but you also can pass it on, of course, to your clients, and you're going to get to really powerfully spread the knowledge. So it's extremely powerful.
So before we wrap up, I have two more questions for you. What would you tell the woman who's afraid to play really big because she doesn't trust her power yet? Because you mentioned before that those women really trust themselves. What about the ones that don't trust themselves yet?
Yeah, I think what I would tell her is if she looks back in her life and look at everything that she's already went through, it could be the challenges that she has overcome, the struggles that were difficult. She already has the track record to show and to prove that she's got everything it takes to be successful. They look back really careful and look back in your life and say, actually, I did this. Yeah, when I was in seventh grade, I did this. It doesn't matter how small or big, but I promise you, there's going to be, if you look back and really look at it, what have you done? What achievements you got when everyone doubted you? And take that energy and say, you know what? I really want this, and I'm going to make it happen. So find evidence, and there will be evidence in your backstory to support what you're doing right now.
I love that. Now, our signature She Wears the Pants question. Elena, looking back on your journey of wearing the pants, what message do you want to relay for future generations of women in business?
Oh, I love that question so much. I think the biggest thing I wish I did earlier, that I wish my girls, my younger girls, just all women, is ask for what you want. Unapologetically, undeniably, ask for everything. You ask for promotion, ask for that big deal, ask for a sale, ask the best looking guy in the class out. Ask, ask, ask. It's one thing as men, they get to experience early. They expected to ask a lot. And that supports them on their way. And I think a lot of time women are raised and programmed to wait. And I think do the opposite of that is something I wish I did earlier. I wish I took bigger spaces. I was more relentless earlier. I did take very big spaces, but through a lot of hardship, and I could have done it earlier. And if there's one thing, do ask and demand what you want and require it from the universe and from life.
Oh, I think that's one of my favorite answers that we have had on the hundreds of podcasts we have recorded. Elena, thank you so much. I knew today was going to blow my mind, and you did just that. And I know that we are all so incredibly blessed to have your time and your energy and your advice. So, again, thank you just so much for being here.
Thank you for having me. It's been an absolute pleasure.
This was She Wears the Pants, where women rise into what they're meant to hold. If this episode moved you, changed you, or challenged you, send it to a woman you want to see rise. Make sure you're subscribed so you never miss an episode. And if you're ready for deeper strategy, identity expansion, and high-level support, you can find me on Instagram at Ashley Deland. Until next time, keep leading boldly, building intentionally, and becoming the woman your calling requires.